Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
The headlines in the Thames Valley this Friday evening. Fighting back from addiction, how boxing has helped Jess from Swindon escape a life of drugs and crime.
The drugs I was taking just weren't good for my head. I got straight into boxing. Luckily I found something that suited me.
From skylarks to Dartford warblers, the roam zones in Newbury helping people protect some of the country's most vulnerable birds.
Also tonight, the evolution of the hearing aid. We talked to deaf actor Samantha Baines from Call the Midwife about why so few of us are having hearing tests.
And sweet singing on the NHS, the choir helping people with brain injuries find their voices again. Good evening. A teenager has described how she fought an addiction to Class A drugs and turned her life around by getting involved with boxing.
Jess Bryden from Swindon fell in with the wrong crowd, began taking drugs before spiralling into depression. Her parents went on to set up a mentoring programme and boxing charity to help her and other children in similar situations.
Well, as Robert Murphy reports, the charity is now inspiring others to make a difference.
Jess Bryden used to take drugs and knew people involved in the county lines distribution of Class A from cities to the countryside. Her parents were so fraught they took every penny they had to set up a gym to help her and others get on the straight and narrow.
Section under my mental health, as the drugs I was taking just weren't good for my head. I was taken out of the country after I lived in Wales and I lived in Spain. My dad moved me to Spain. And I come back and I got straight into boxing. Luckily I found something that suited me. Maybe 2-3 years ago I was hanging around with the wrong crowd, doing drugs.
The charity has been built around Jess's rehabilitation.
You're clearly an attentive family, but even with that backdrop, she was still sucked into that. How easy is it?
It doesn't differentiate between where you come from, colour, creed or culture. It does not differentiate. It can get everybody. From the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor. This can get everyone.
And how does this help what you're doing?
Well, I was sitting at the school principal's office with the board there, and they were going to expel my daughter, and I refused to accept that. And I said to them that our family unit is so strong, we'll be able to get us through this. I said, however, I put it across to them that if I can help my daughter, I'll set something up. I said it was the back of a fag packet, to be honest with you. But I said I'd do something. If I can help one, I can help another.
Late last year, 18-year-old Owen Dunn died in Swindon. A teenager's been charged with his murder. Owen's friends are setting up a charity in his honour and are looking at this one for inspiration.
Mainly to try and support teenagers, give them something to do, get them off the streets, help them with their mental health, and try and crack down on knife crime. Obviously we're aware of what the task it's going to be, but you know, my outlook is if we can just save one teenager and his family from going through what Owen's are, then we've succeeded.
The Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, visited the gym. Further recognition at the way this charity is changing young people's lives, like Jess's. Robert Murphy, ITV News.
Thames Water says engineers are working around the clock to pump away waste after a sewage pipe burst in Swindon. Tankers have been sent to the area around Hayden End to stop the sewage flooding nearby homes. Some, though, has gone into the River Ray. Repairs are expected to take most of the weekend. Thames Water insists supplies are safe and people in the area can still flush toilets as normal.
Oxford's zero emission zone has raised almost £700,000 in fines in a year since it was launched. The pilot scheme stops polluting vehicles driving through a red zone in Oxford city centre, including Bond Square, Queen Street, Corn Market and Ship Street. Oxfordshire County Council says income generated from the fines is used to cover costs and more clean air measures.
Well, meanwhile, almost 670,000 people have made a journey on an e-scooter in Oxford in 2 years. There are 750 Voy scooters in the city, operating between Blackbird Leys and North Oxford. Usage has gone up 40% in a year.
£2.5 million CT scanning suite at the Royal Berkshire Hospital has opened after 2 years of planning. It'll carry out more than 40,000 scans a year.
These state-of-the-art machines help diagnose cancer and strokes and assess damage from road traffic accidents. It's hoped the unit's design will improve the experience for patients. Natalie Verney visited the suite earlier and sent this report.
Well, I'm in reception, which is nice and bright and airy as you would expect. This unit sees 100 patients a day, so it's a very busy unit. Let's go on a little tour of where the patients would go. So through this door and down this short corridor, and we are in the scanning room. And Sarah's here to meet me. This is the lead radiographer for the unit. A lot of thought has gone into the design of making the experience for patients a bit better, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. So we have introduced our new ceiling lights that we can dim or make brighter to help create a nicer atmosphere. We have a two-way microphone actually in the scanner, so the patients can talk to us as radiographers and vice versa, the radiographers can talk back and answer any queries. And behind the scanner there is also a real-time TV, so the radiographers can see and monitor the patients at any time during their scan. Right. And the rooms are a bit bigger as well, which gives us a lot more space for the patients.
Yeah, and where would you sit while they're having a scan?
We sit this way in a separate control area.
Show us?
Yeah.
It's nice and quiet in here, isn't it? Nice so you don't have to go back out to the reception.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. So this is where you would be?
Yes, that's correct. So this is where the radiographers sit, and if need be, if we need to give the patient some more privacy and dignity, we can do this to our screen here, which is another added feature that we've added to the unit.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. Well, Dom is here now, the Chief Operating Officer for the hospital. A lot of time and money has gone into this, £2.5 million. It's taken 2 years to get to this stage. Why did you want to invest in this?
Well, two main reasons, really. First of all, our old CT scanners, even though they were only 10 years old, were already life expired. So we wanted to be able to put these two new scanners in a proper facility. And the second is that they're bigger, so we needed a bigger space, hence building this brilliant space. We already do 100 CT scans a day, and these will enable us to treat a few more patients, but actually the big boost will come a bit later this year when we open the refurbished area in our main department and put hopefully 2 additional CTs in there as well, really speeding up the process and enabling us to treat more patients.
Lovely. Well, needing a CT scan can be a really worrying time. This unit should help to make that experience just a little bit better.
Natalie Verney taking that tour there. Now, dog walkers are being urged to help protect some of the country's rarest and most vulnerable birds. Research shows that 66% of ground nesting species are in decline.
The Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire Wildlife Trust is making an appeal to dog walkers at 2 of its most popular nature reserves near Newbury. Charlotte Britt-Edney has the details.
This is a rare sight, a skylark on the Greenham and Crookham Commons near Newbury. You could spend some time here and not know it's a haven for birds. That's because the species that come here build their nests on the ground, hidden in this thick, prickly gorse.
So particularly the gorse provides some shelter. So for instance, Dartford warbler will nest low down in the gorse bushes, so they're hidden away from predators, so they can't be seen. It's also a good food source as well. You'll have a lot of insects around here amongst the gorse, so they don't have to stray too far to get their food source.
Indeed, the Dartford warbler is on the amber list for endangered birds, with only a couple of thousand breeding pairs in the UK. Making sure they feel safe in areas like this is critical to their survival.
Ground nesting season runs from now until the end of July. It's when birds will pair up, mate and hopefully lay eggs. Some birds live here all year round, but others will travel from as far as southern Africa to breed here.
If ground nesting birds are repeatedly disturbed by people or dogs, they abandon their nests, sadly often leaving chicks to die.
So what are you asking the public to do here?
So we're asking the public to stick to the main paths, and especially dog walkers, because we have had lots of research saying that ground nesting birds are very prone to disturbance from people and dogs, and nature needs our help because there are 66% of bird species in decline, and so we need to particularly give them a helping hand.
As well as the paths, dog walkers can use the designated roam zones, where pups can enjoy that all-important off-lead time away from those vulnerable nesting areas. Charlotte Breredney, ITV News, near Newbury.
Now it's Friday, you're watching ITV News Meridian. Still to come on the programme this evening, why fans fear Reading could face another points deduction.
And barely taller than the table, but already a champion, the 10-year-old hoping for his big break in snooker.
Plenty more from us, of course, online. Details on the screen as ever. And don't forget to follow us on social media.
More headlines. And environmental campaigners have been given the green light to bring a High Court challenge over plans to begin gas drilling in rural Surrey. The group Protect Dunsfold and Waverley Borough Council launched legal action over a government decision to allow an exploratory oil and gas well to be dug near the village of Dunsfold. Surrey County Council previously refused permission for the proposal in December 2019, but after a public inquiry, planning inspectors recommended that an appeal be allowed.
It's so important because they're destroying a rural environment, and we don't need, and we can't afford to keep taking fossil fuels out of the ground. We need to stop using fossil fuels.
A bus driver from Sussex has picked up their most unusual passenger. Martine Patey was driving a rail replacement service to Eastbourne when she saw a lost sheep blocking the way. The animal was helped out of harm's way, and Martine even gave it a lift home to a local farm, which is not bad service.
Do you mean bard service? Sorry. The ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with a preview now. Charlene White.
Coming up, it should have been obvious to Boris Johnson lockdown rules were being broken at Downing Street. That's the verdict of the cross-party Commons Committee investigating him. The former PM will now need to answer those claims later this month. Charged with manslaughter, the couple who went on the run with their baby are appearing in court today after the remains of a baby were found in Brighton. And preserving the past, Hull's oh so rare cream-coloured booths have been given protected status. So join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Now, around half of us will have been to see the dentist and optician in the last year. But how about getting your hearing checked? Well, that's far less likely, according to new research. And now a charity says we're putting our mental and physical health at risk by not doing so.
Well, more than 1.6 million people in the southeast have hearing loss, but it can be slow to spot and unmanaged can lead to loneliness and depression and increase the risk of dementia. Lucy Capassi, who herself wears hearing aids, has been investigating whether attitudes are changing and has been talking to deaf actor Samantha Baines on World Hearing Day.
Changing trends in jewellery to the fascinating history of a little-known subject, hearing aids. And at this Mayfair clinic, you can see historic relics like the chased silver ear trumpet of the 19th century and disguising them.
The first hearing aids were rather cumbersome, and often more thought went into hiding them than into whether they actually worked.
Thankfully, things have changed somewhat since then. Now, if you have hearing loss, you can expect a device similar to this one on the NHS for free. There are lots of others on the market too, like this one for instance, but you'd have to pay for them and they can be expensive. All the NHS hearing aids are now digital, which means they can be tailored to an individual's specific needs, and some are Bluetooth enabled, which means they can connect to your phone. So if you're at work, at home, or in a restaurant or bar, you can adjust the settings with just a click.
Despite the modern hearing aids now on offer, the Royal National Institute for Deaf People says high numbers of us are still putting our health at risk by not looking after our ears. In the southeast, only 4% of people questioned who didn't already have a hearing loss diagnosis had their hearing checked in the last 12 months. That's compared to 47% who said they'd had an eye test and 51% a dental checkup.
Do you ever go and get your hearing checked?
Not yet, no.
How about the opticians or dentists? Do you do that?
I do that regularly, yes, yeah, both of them.
What's the difference between those and getting your hearing checked?
Oh, that's a good question.
I go to the optician and dentist, but I actually have never had my hearing checked.
Have you ever been for a hearing test?
No.
No, it's not something.
It's not something that you think about.
I met up with deaf comedian, actor and author Samantha Baines. She's just written the book she says she couldn't find when she was first told she'd need to wear a hearing aid.
Now, I know you love your hearing aid, as I love mine, but that wasn't always the way, was it?
No, it was definitely a journey to love it. And actually, the book has a very long title, which is Living with Hearing Loss and Deafness, but also it's a guide to loving it and owning it, because I do feel like I own it and love it now. Turning the TV up, you can say, oh, that's because the actor's mumbling. And I'm an actor and I've been known to mumble. So there's lots of excuses, I guess, that you can give. And also we don't talk about it a lot.
I want the gas though, proper gas, off a machine. Someone told me if you have it at home, they give you gas through the cooker, and I think that's dangerous.
You know, I was doing period dramas at the time, like The Crown and Call the Midwife. And actually, once I've started opening up about my deafness and the fact I wear a hearing aid and having those conversations with people I was working with already, it's been a good reaction, and people have been keen to put accessibility options in place so that I can still do what I love to do. Really, I think the deaf community who use British Sign Language have always been a proud, strong community and really happy with their deaf status. And I feel like some of that is through osmosis spreading onto us. And, you know, there's this whole wave of colourful hearing aids, there's hearing aid jewellery, I'm wearing some today. And it also makes it, you know, feel like you and adds to your style. And instead of it just being a medical device, it's now something that you can kind of show off and add a bit of your personality.
Approximately 1 woman in 10 doesn't...
So, from using jewellery to conceal hearing aids to now wearing it to show them off, we've come a long way. Now, deaf charities hope changing attitudes will mean more of us prioritise the health of our ears. Lucy Capassi, ITV News.
Something to think about. Well, to hear more from Samantha Baines and for help and advice about hearing loss and deafness, please go to our website and follow the links.
Now let's get some sports. Sarah joins us in the studio. Good evening.
Hello, Matt. Thank you. Well, after FA Cup action for some in midweek, it's now time for our teams to focus on the Premier League. And that's especially true for Southampton, who need to bounce back from an humiliating defeat to Grimsby. Saints, who are propping up the Premier League table, play Leicester at St Mary's tomorrow, while fellow strugglers Bournemouth have a tough task. They travel to league leaders Arsenal. A different story for Brighton, though. They're teetering on the edge of a top 7 finish, and having made the FA Cup quarter-finals, are keen to carry the momentum through to the visit of West Ham. Manager Roberto De Zerbi, though, has been handed a 1-match touchline ban following his red card against Fulham last month. In the Championship, Reading travel to Middlesbrough, and the club has been coming to terms with news they could be hit with a second deduction of 6 points inside 18 months after reports the Football League may act over rules relating to an agreed business plan. It's being looked into by an independent disciplinary commission, and the club, meanwhile, has thanked fans for their loyalty and patience. In Leagues 1 and 2, Portsmouth travel to Cambridge. Caretaker boss Craig Short takes charge of Oxford at Lincoln. Crawley, currently bottom of League 2, need points from Northampton to kickstart their survival campaign. Now, if there's any truth in the mantra, dream big, start small, one young snooker player from Brighton is going to be a huge success. Adam Abbas is taking the junior and adult circuit by storm. He's already won a national championship, and we've been to find out how he's making it happen.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
He might only be 10 years old, but Adam Abbas is breaking more than points on snooker tables in Sussex. He's rewriting the record books, having already made a 115 break and regularly beating players twice his age.
I think one day, me and my dad thought I should start practicing a bit more. And then I started practicing a bit more, like an hour, and I started playing really good. This is quite a satisfying game, isn't it? because when the ball hits the pocket and you make high breaks, it can be satisfying. That's what I like.
Adam began playing at the Brighton Castle Junior Club last year. Coach Kai Michael says he's not seen a talent like it.
In the last couple of months, he's just absolutely flown into a different level. He's hitting 50, 60 breaks, 100 breaks in practice, and he's 10 years old. We haven't really got anyone else that's doing that sort of stuff, and there's a few other kids in the country that age that are doing stuff like that, but I mean, it's quite special, really.
Mum Hannon says his talent has grown from a love of pool. He now plays every day and fits it around plenty of schoolwork.
You're very lucky to have a 10-year-old have this passion and passion about snooker. He's a great child. Yeah, very proud of him.
And how far can Adam go? According to everyone here, right to the top of his game.
If he carries on, it's down to him what he wants to achieve, really, I think. I mean, he's doing really well and he can't do any better than what he's doing, sort of, really, at the moment.
I want to try become a world champion.
Wouldn't be at all surprised if he succeeds, would you?
You can see it, can't you, in the future, them bringing that clip up again. Thank you very much. Now, people with brain injuries are being helped to recovery thanks to a new choir run by NHS staff in Bournemouth.
The Aphasia Choir was established after staff successfully bid for funding to develop ideas to improve patient care. With more, here's Richard Slee.
People with brain injuries often find it much easier to sing than talk. And that's the situation here. Frances had a stroke nearly 3 years ago, and being a member of the choir has helped her recovery.
Helped my speech, helped my swallowing. I had a problem eating and drinking before, and that's improved. And also my speech has improved. It's really excellent. It's excellent therapy.
We know that singing and speech are producing different parts of the brain, and so following a brain injury, stroke included, people can lose the ability to verbally communicate. Singing can at times be preserved, and so for a lot of the adults with us today, singing is their way to release emotion.
Bob also suffered a stroke.
I can sing pretty well
It left him struggling to find the right words, which can be frustrating.
Is it easier to sing than to talk?
Yeah, a lot easier, a lot easier.
It's lovely to stand next to him and hear him singing, because I know he's happy and he's looking happy when he's singing. So singing definitely does help.
And there's also the social aspect, making new friends and gaining confidence. Richard Slee, ITV News, Bournemouth.
It's just incredible how speaking and singing are sort of accessed in different
and it
parts.
is. It's just, and it does it. It's just kind of so uplifting as well. Community, all those things.
Yes, absolutely. Great work. Now let's talk about the weather. Pip is here. Now a new month, new season.
Yeah.
So time to sort of review the last one.
Yeah, that's right. So we're into meteorological spring now. Time for a little bit of a recap. Let's take a look at February first up. So it's actually the driest February for 30 years for England. And here in the south, we had just 16% of the average rainfall, as well as that very mild, the 5th mildest on record. And those records date back to 1884 for the UK as a whole. And that, of course, had a bit of a knock-on effect on winter as a whole. So despite some very wet weather through December and January, ended up being drier than average, and temperatures really bounced back as well. If you remember back mid-December, we were seeing lows of -12, -13 Celsius. Cut to mid-February, we're up at around 15, 16. That's a range of about 30 Celsius, which is pretty huge at this time of year.
And Pip, we're in March now. Officially, that is meteorological spring,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you've told me many times. But earlier on in the show, you said snowdrops mean possibly snow.
Well, that's right. Spring by name, winter by nature. Take a look at what's going to happen over the next few days. So we start with high pressure, but over the weekend, we'll see cold air sinking its way southwards, so a dip in temperatures. Very early next week, you see a little front sinking its way southwards. That could bring a wintry mix of rain, sleet and snow, but it's from midweek midweek onwards, look at that low pressure out towards the west as it hits the cold air. There is the potential for a disruptive wintry event. It's a long way off, but watch this space.
A disruptive wintry event.
Yes, let's just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, but you know what they say: in like a lion, out like a lamb.
Like
March,
done.
Something like that. Anyway, here's it with your forecast.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So still fairly quiet over the next few days, a good deal of cloud but mostly dry, and then it says we head into next week, signs of something a little more changeable, certainly a lot colder and potentially wintry at times. So currently high pressure very much in charge. It's been with us for some time now, but as it starts to ease away, we'll first see a front drifting down from the north, introducing the first signs of colder weather, and then we see fronts piling in from the southwest, and it's these that could bring the potential for something a bit more disruptive. But out there at the moment, it remains very quiet. So overnight tonight, a good deal of cloud on the scene, mostly dry. That cloud for most of us keeping the temperatures hovering around 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. But where we do have any limited breaks, we could see a touch of frost developing as temperatures dip a little closer towards freezing. And then tomorrow, well, really much the same as today. We did have some sunshine around this morning in places. I don't think that'll be the case quite so much tomorrow. A good deal of cloud from the word go. But again, it should stay largely dry and temperatures on a par with today. So around average for the time of year, probably highs around 8 or locally 9 Celsius. These are the times of high water for tomorrow. Then for Poole, they're 8:15 in the morning and 8:20 in the evening. Now beyond that, as we head overnight into Sunday, we'll see a weak weather front just drifting down from the northeast there. That could bring a few showers our way, but at this stage still very much falling as rain. It's as we head into the early part of next week that things start to change. The temperatures really taking a dip, some frosty conditions returning widely overnight, and an increasing risk of something wintry on the way.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And you're up to date in just a moment. The ITV Evening News continues here with Charlene White.
For now, though, from us, that is it for this week. We are back with a late update just after 10:30. But for now, have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Happy weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.